I'm just honored to be part of a wonderful film and to share this stage is just terrific. Oh, is this better?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I think one of the things that the film it does a really amazing job at is illustrating how the project of corporate globalization really is a project of separation of people, of community, of our relationships with one another, and what all of the consequences of that really are, of taking our economic life and not having it be grounded in relationships and grounded in place, but rather a series of transactions that are faceless and distant. And that, of course, is something that leads to exploitation and all sorts of other kinds of consequences. There are, around this country and around the world as well, growing sort of signs that people are yearning for rebuilding and rerouting our economic relationships in place and in one community. There has been this enormous soaring of local food. There are now 6,132 active farmers markets in the United States. One out of every two of those markets was started in the last 10 years. According to the most recent economic census, since 2002, we've added 1,400 small independent grocery stores, little neighborhood greengrocers in this country. And also since 2002, we've added 110,000 small farms nationwide after decades of decline. Independent retailers, in some cases, are beginning to show some signs of rebound. Since 2005, we've added 400 new independent bookstores in this country. Last year, and many people find this, yes, quite a few here in New York. And this may seem sort of surprising here in the heart of Duane Reade, but last year, according to the National Association of Chain Drugstores, independent pharmacies added 500 locations around the country compared to only 200 locations for chains. Credit unions and small community banks in some areas are seeing a surge in deposits, and as a result of this Move Your Money campaign, driving is down nationally, and there's actually new data that shows that if you live in a dense neighborhood near local businesses that are within walking distance, it actually has improved the value of your house compared to people out in the suburbs. And as Judy mentioned, I think most encouraging of all, independent businesses all across the country are organizing and building an increasingly powerful counterweight, not only to this corporate economy, but also to the big business lobby. And there are now networks like Judy described in 140 cities across the country, encompassing about 35,000 independent businesses. And that's happened all within just the last few years. What's motivating, I think, a lot of this is not only the sense of the bankruptcy of the current system, but also, as the film made so clear, this pleasure that comes from those relationships. There's a sociologist whose name I'm sorry I'm forgetting, who did this study a number of years back where he and his team followed people around when they shopped at like a big store, like a big supermarket or a big box store. And they found that your chances of having a conversation with another customer in that sort of environment are about 1 in 10. And then they went and followed people around at a farmer's market or in a Main Street business district, and they found that your chances of having an interaction, a conversation with another customer were about 7 in 10. I mean, that is, in a sense, the difference, and a lot of what I think is driving this kind of rebirth and rediscovery of those kinds of economic relationships. And while all of this is encouraging, I fear that it won't be enough unless we really tackle a policy issue. The policy playing field in this country and globally, I think, as well, is really rigged against independent business. And that's the dirty secret of this whole thing, is that big business is subsidized. It has policy written on its behalf in ways that just absolutely undermine, whether it's the subsidies we give to agribusiness and the zero subsidies that go to local food, whether it's the banking system, and I don't even need to say anything there. You know, and it goes on, the hundreds of millions of dollars that Walmart and Target and Home Depot pick up every year in this country from local governments who give them tax breaks and deals to come in and build. Of course, if you're an independent grocer or small bookstore, you know, try going down to your city council and getting a few $100,000. I mean, it's not going to happen because that you'll be told that this is a free market, right? Well, it is not so free. So our challenge really, I think, is a challenge of citizenship. It's not just about the choices that we make as economic actors, although that's important. It's also increasingly, I think, about the choices we make as citizens. And that's really where the New Rules Project, the organization I work for, comes in. We started up about 10 years ago with the idea that we needed new rules. We needed a whole new set of policies in all of these areas that supported local and had full cost accounting for corporate and global. And we've been doing this in areas like energy. We're working in a number of states to help states as they rewrite the rules to encourage renewables. Instead of writing those rules in such a way that you end up with one big wind farm controlled by one big corporation, there are ways you can write the rules so that instead of that, you end up with a system where every farmer in that state has 1 or 2 wind turbines on their land, and they tap into the grid, and now you have decentralized ownership, you have a spreading of the economic benefits. We've been doing it by working with cities around the country on rewriting their planning rules to support independent businesses, to have situations where independent retailers can really thrive, and where big box stores are, really limited and held up to a different standard. We worked with the state of Maine, for example, to pass a law that requires that anybody who wants to build a big retail store, there has to be a full cost accounting, a real look at how that's going to affect the local economy. And more recently, we're doing this work with a community banking initiative that seeks to write rules to reinvigorate small-scale local banks and credit unions, and to bring back a financial system that's rooted in community. If you haven't moved your money yet, if you're still banking with Chase or Bank of America, let me give you one fact to sort of motivate you to make that change tomorrow. All of the small and mid-sized banks in this country together control 20% of banking assets. All of them together, 20% of banking assets. They make almost 60% of all small business loans. The top 20 banks in this country, it's like reversed. They have 60% of the assets. They make about a quarter of all small business loans. Their money is tied up in speculation in Wall Street. And so that system it's a rigged system, and we have to change it. So this is the kind of work that we're doing. The policy ideas are there, and what I think is really exciting is that a lot of these things are things that can be done at the local and state level. They're not things that we have to wait for Congress for. Our banking policy is very much, there's power at the state level that we don't exercise, and all down the line. So I think, as I said, I think this is a challenge of citizenship, and there are real opportunities there. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.